I wonder whether, legacy architectures like, well, data warehouses, MDM, data lakes, are they enough for these emerging agentic workloads? And, do enterprises need something more adaptive and contextual at a foundational layer?
Yes and no. What I mean
Mhm.
is the modern tools for data warehouses, for databases,
Mhm.
they're all evolving.
Yeah.
And they do contain a lot of capabilities that provide certain help with
Mhm.
AI-ready data. But
Yeah.
are they
I,
fully ready? Probably not. Some of them say, yeah, our future is combining structured and unstructured data and metadata and so on. But I would say that we're at the beginning of a new data management cycle uh,
Okay.
to make data management serve AI.
I fundamentally believe that a lot of the stuff we've been doing for the last 25 years is part of the problem. And
Mhm.
everybody's hanging on to older technology that they understand, ETLs, data warehouses, lakes, and things of that nature, all stuck together with
Mhm.
transformation engines that are on the side, governance engines that are on the side, et cetera. And all this is becoming part of the problem, which is great for us because we happen to invent the better mousetrap, which is the sort of next generation of master data management, which we do fundamentally believe is the right way to go solve
Mhm.
this problem because we do source side master data management as well as the head end data management. We introduced the concept, obviously, everyone got an MCP server, but we introduced the concept of a master MCP server. So rather than having 10 MCP
Mhm.
connections to 10 sources, all doing different things and not understanding where provenance and everything like that is coming from in your environment, you have one MCP server that's got your curated clean data, that's got ABAC controls,
Mhm.
RBAC controls on those connections, has access to the tools you want them to have access to for those things, and can feed the clean context to not just LLMs, but also agent frameworks and things
Mhm.
like that in a very controlled and governed way. And we think that that is where it all needs to go in order for these
Mhm.
things to happen. In the meantime, we're going to have a rector set projects with ETLs, data
Mhm.
warehouses, and things like that until we realize it's like that's solving the technical part of data problems. It's not
Mhm.
solving the efficacy and usefulness and governance of the data problem, which is what
Yeah.
we want to go after as a company.
This is a very forward looking and smacks of a pay me now
Yeah.
or pay me later kind
Mhm.
of scenario. Thinking about how to try to operationalize AI into the future, not just with today's issues. So, is this why so many initiatives fail during the execution phase, even when the models themselves look really promising?
I like to kind of like understand it from like a usability perspective. Like we're sitting on a bunch of foundational data that is bifurcated, whether that's like in data lakes, et cetera, and other areas of the business. And then how do we take action on it? And then how do I get internal users to take action on it when I connect like something like an LLM to actually speed up processes, efficiency, et cetera. So um, the problem really lies kind of going back to what Svetlana was saying, just from like three determining values. Two for me is one is how do I think about how do I provide the end user short-term type of memory? One is like quick context and questions, maybe a long-term type of context question. How do I remember certain things and improve that usability? And then three, like my knowledge, my data set, my core data that I have the context within. And then if I'm operating off of those three levels of inference, then I can actually train certain things, for example, like an N8N, like with, going through like what Nick was saying, like having that
Mhm.
core construct to actually access the data, to actually take action. And what we found is
Mhm.
by communicating it that way, at a user level and then implementing workflows that way across the business, we're seeing high adoption rates. Saying, hey, I actually trust the information because I know where it lives, because it's information I'm actually using and working off of, which means I trust the outcome. Now, if you didn't have that
Mhm.
context, well, let's say like Svetlana and like Nick's construct was just like, hey, I logged into, ChatGPT, asked somebody the answer. It's actually just querying the internet
Mhm.
to find the
Yeah.
answer, which is invalid or it could be invalid to an end user in the business. So if I organize it that way,
Mhm.
now I'm actually thinking on how I would think. I have short-term responses, I have long-term memory, and then I'm operating within a bounds
Mhm.
of collective information to actually find business
Mhm.
answers.
In my early days of AI back in the early 90s, we were often concerned also with forgetting. Like, how do you forget certain things. So you talk about short-term memory, that must also involve forgetting or disposing of certain information when it's no longer relevant or timely.
Same,
Yeah.
same. Nothing has changed.
Mhm. Yeah. Carol, go ahead. Let's hear your
Yeah.
experience.
So I would say that here at Monotype, we have a lot of AI initiatives going on all over the company. I'm the only one doing it on top of managed data, though. And so what I've seen
Mhm.
across the company is that everyone who's building their sort of, department level AI readiness always comes back to me because they're getting hallucinations because the underlying data isn't managed or it's not good or AI doesn't know which of the 7 fields that represent a country are actually accurate, even if they look at population. So,
Right.
so the AI approach has been, I'm cautiously optimistic about it. It's AI is always going to give you an answer confidently, whether the answer is right or wrong, right? So when I put it on
Mhm.
top of my Syncari data set, I feel a lot more comfortable with the answer that it's generating. I'm still going to monitor it because it's still going to continue to learn, continue to think, continue to ingest data as quickly as we ingest it into Syncari. But I have a lot more comfort with the inevitable results that I'm then sending out to my team. And
Mhm.
as we've gone on, some of the members of the team of the company who've done their own sort of experiments with AI are now starting to experiment in Syncari. So I've seen great progress there.